So I was scrolling through Reddit the other day and I saw this post that it stopped me cold. This person had just gotten a $3,000 bonus at work, and instead of being excited, they were stressed out. Why? Because they didn't know what to do with it. Should they invest it, pay off debt, save it? And while they were overthinking it, they ended up just spending it on nothing in particular. It was just gone within 2 months. And here's the thing, I see this constantly. People waiting to have enough money before they start taking their finances seriously, waiting for that big raise, that tax refund, that inheritance. Meanwhile, they're completely ignoring the money they have right now, and that is costing them an absolute fortune. My name's Lee, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time thinking about why people stay broke even when they're making decent money. If you're someone who feels like you're always starting over financially, like every time you get ahead, something comes up and wipes you out, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we need to talk about something that nobody else is going to tell you. Your first $1,000 in savings is mathematically more important than your first $10,000. And I know that sounds backwards. I know it sounds like I'm overselling something small. But by the end of this video, I'm going to show you the actual math and psychology that proves why getting to that first $1,000 is the single most important financial milestone in your entire life. Look, here's what we've all been taught. Save money, invest for retirement, build wealth slowly over time. And that's not wrong, it's just incomplete. Because it assumes you're starting from a stable foundation, and most people, they're not. According to a 2023 survey by Bankrate, 57% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency with their savings. Let that sink in for a second. More than half the country is one car repair, one medical bill, one broken appliance away from going into debt. But here's what most people don't realize. This isn't just about the $1,000. It's about what happens to your brain and your behavior when you don't have it. Let me show you what I mean with some actual numbers, because this is where it gets really interesting. Meet Sarah. She makes $50,000 a year, takes home about $3,200 a month after taxes. Her rent is $1,200, car payment is $350, insurance, food, utilities, life. She's got about $400 left over each month if everything goes perfectly, which it never does. Sarah has $0 in savings. In month one, her car needs a $600 repair. She doesn't have $600, so it goes on the credit card at 22% APR. Month two, she's planning to pay off that credit card, but then her dog gets sick. Vet bill, $400, also on the credit card. Month three, she gets invited to her cousin's destination wedding. She doesn't want to miss it, so you can see where this is going. Within 6 months, Sarah has $3,500 in credit card debt. At 22% interest, she's paying $770 a year just in interest. That's $64 a month going to absolutely nothing. No food, no fun, no investment growth, just paying for the privilege of having borrowed money 6 months ago. Now, let me show you something wild. If Sarah had just $1,000 in savings at the start, she could have paid cash for that car repair. The vet bill? Covered. She still might have put the wedding on a credit card, but instead of spiraling into $3,500 of debt, she'd have maybe $1,500. The difference between $0 and $1,000 in savings just saved her $2,000 in debt and $440 in annual interest from a single $1,000. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Lee, but wouldn't having $10,000 saved be even better? And yes, obviously having more money is better than having less money. But here's the thing, the marginal benefit of going from 0 to 1,000 is dramatically higher than going from 10,000 to 20,000. Let me show you what I mean. When you have $0 in savings, your effective interest rate on life is somewhere between 15 and 25%. Why? Because every single unexpected expense becomes a high-interest debt. Car repair, credit card, medical bill, payment plan with fees. Overdraft your checking account, $35. You're constantly paying premiums for being broke. But when you have $1,000, you can cover probably 75% of the small emergencies that come up in a normal year. According to data from the Federal Reserve, the median emergency expense is around $400. So with $1,000, you're suddenly able to pay cash for the majority of life's curveballs. What does this mean in real terms? You're avoiding probably $500 to $800 in fees and interest charges annually. On a $1,000 investment, that's a 50 to 80% return. Show me an index fund that does that. I'll wait. But here's where it gets even more important, and this is the part that really frustrates me because nobody talks about it. The difference between having $0 and $1,000 isn't just mathematical, it's psychological. There's this concept in behavioral economics called scarcity mindset, and it's been studied extensively by researchers like Sendhil Molinoffen at Princeton. What they found is that when you're operating from a place of financial scarcity, it literally changes how your brain works. When you have zero financial buffer, your brain is constantly in crisis mode. Every financial decision becomes high stakes. You can't think long-term because you're always putting out fires. And this isn't a character flaw, it's neuroscience. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning and rational decision-making, gets overridden by your amygdala screaming, "Survive right now." This is why people stay broke even when they make more money. It's not because they're dumb or lazy, it's because they've never escaped scarcity mindset. Here's what most people don't realize. $1,000 is roughly the threshold where scarcity mindset starts to break. It's not arbitrary. $1,000 is enough to cover most small emergencies. It's enough that you can start making decisions based on what's smart rather than what's urgent. It's enough that when you see a $50 off if you spend a $100 sale, you can actually stop and ask yourself if you need the thing rather than just reacting to the perceived discount. Let me give you a personal example. When I first started taking money seriously, I had about $300 in savings, and I remember my laptop charger broke. A new one was $80, and I agonized over that decision for 2 days because $80 was more than 25% of everything I had. What if something else broke? What if I needed that money? I ended up buying it, obviously. I needed my laptop for work, but the stress of that decision stuck with me for weeks. Fast forward 6 months. I'd built my savings up to $1,200, and my laptop charger broke again. I was not taking good care of my stuff, apparently. And you know what? I just bought a new one. It was barely a decision. The $80 didn't threaten my sense of security anymore. Same person, similar situation, completely different psychological experience. That's the power of crossing the $1,000 threshold. Now, here's where it gets really interesting from a long-term wealth perspective. We talk a lot about compound interest in investing, right? You invest $1,000 at age 25, it grows at 8% annually. By age 65, it's worth $21,724. Cool, that's great. But we never talk about compound stability. When you have that first $1,000 in the bank, you make better financial decisions. You don't panic buy. You don't take the first job offer that comes along if it's not right for you because you can afford to wait a few more weeks. You don't stay in a toxic work environment because you have a tiny bit of leverage. Better decisions lead to better outcomes. You get a 5% raise instead of 2% because you negotiated. You save $1,200 a year on car insurance because you had time to shop around instead of just auto-renewing. You avoid $600 in overdraft fees. These aren't one-time benefits. They happen year after year, and they compound. Let me give you some actual numbers on this. Research from JP Morgan Chase Institute found that families with even modest liquid savings had income that was 70% less volatile than families without savings. Less volatile income means better credit scores, lower insurance rates, more employment stability, better health outcomes. The benefits cascade. Now, here's something that's going to sound contradictory, but stick with me. Going from $1,000 to $10,000 in savings is actually harder psychologically than going from 0 to 1,000. Why? Because once you hit $1,000, you've escaped immediate scarcity. Your brain relaxes. The urgency is gone. And for a lot of people, that's when discipline disappears. I see this all the time. Someone grinds to get their first $1,000 saved. They're motivated, they're intense, they're tracking every dollar. Then they hit $1,000 and they coast. Suddenly, that $400 weekend trip doesn't seem like a big deal. Their savings hovers between $800 and $1,200 for the next 2 years. This is why the first $1,000 is so important. It's not just about the money. It's about building the identity of someone who saves money. It's about proving to yourself that you can do hard things financially. If you're going to actually do this, let me know in the comments. Tell me your timeline. Tell me when you're going to hit $1,000 because accountability matters and I want to see you win. And if you want more content like this, real talk about money without the BS, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Now go start building that first $1,000. Your future self is going to thank you.